from exposure to inappropriate content in the licenses to both local and international filmmakers, and this responsibility also entails producers. In order to create a conducive regulatory environment and to ensure of the film agents in Kenya. And the reason why we redefined the role of film agents was to ensure that we make it easier for young aspiring filmmakers to obtain licenses directly from the board, instead of the current restrict the license scope of film agents to provision of to redefine the role of film agents in the Kenya through a press conference which was held in this room, and subsequently of the public participation and validation processes. Stakeholders publish a public notice in the press to sensitize the industry on the outcome of the public consultation process, on the role of the on the redefining the role of film agents in Kenya, and KFCB's decision or intention to implement that decision. In light of the foregoing, KFCB wishes to inform all stakeholders that effective 1st December 2022, that one, the role of the film agents shall be restricted to the provision of filming licenses to foreign film and television crew through film agents. I think this will be very helpful to young people who want to participate in the economy, in the creative economy, instead of using an agent. You know, when you use an agent in creating money through production of audiovisual content, now instead of using a film agent, you come to us and we'll give that, like foreign filmmakers come to the country. They will use the services of a film agent. And the film agent will ensure that the film agent gets the license on their behalf to film in the country. They will also make sure that where they require to facilitate changes within government and stuff like that. So basically we are saying that if you are a film agent, of sector in the country, local filmmakers, in addition, shall be required to provide details of their businesses through an annual registration process at no cost. Basically, we want to start collecting data in the sector, and we'll be requiring that if you're a local filmmaker, you fill some form, give us some information regarding yourself, where you run the business, and stuff like that, and you will not charge for that and other applicable laws of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to note that the administrative decision to define the role of film agents is aligned with the government's policy in terms of for the creative economy, especially under the commitment of working with stakeholders to identify the incentives, capacity building, and other support required from the state to scale up cultural production and the creative economy. The removal of the requirement for local filmmakers to obtain filming licenses through a film agent has also eliminated one of the key barriers to entry in the sector, and thus incentivized young aspiring filmmakers to participate in the local creative economy through job creation and wealth creation. On a different note, it will be recalled that KFCB earlier in the year subjected the proposed co-regulation framework to public participation. And if you recall, under this framework, what KFCB was recommending or proposing was meant for distribution on their respective platforms. As initial services would examine 70% of the content meant for broadcast, distribution, and exhibition on their respective platforms. On its part, the board services or service providers should be allowed to classify 100% of the relevant agencies is to enhance compliance with the film sector laws and to align regulation with the current technological trends and market realities. The self-classification framework is also meant to promote the ease of doing business for our youth in the local creative economy, and we are happy that once this is finalized, the framework shall be subjected to public consultation together with the revised film classification guidelines. I must hasten to add here that the rationale for revising the film classification guidelines is to breach the big demographic notice that I don't know whether that banner is here.
Yes, it is behind you.
Right behind me, you can see the general exhibition as one of the ratings. It is not suitable for persons who are younger than 10 adults. If you look at these ratings, 10, PG, you should read it as PG-10, and 16, you know, there's a very big gap there. And we are thinking that there could be content that could be appropriate for kids who are at the age of 13. And so that we don't create a situation whereby the rating for 16 is so young for young people who are probably around 12, 13 thereabout. So basically, so that we can be able to guide parents on how to guide their kids in terms of consuming audiovisual content within the Republic of the country, or Republic of Kenya, if you like. At this juncture, I wish to reaffirm that KFCB does not intend to regulate user-generated content, as this would amount to violating the constitutionally guaranteed freedom of expression. We, however, call on Kenyans who wish to distribute user-generated audiovisual content, particularly on social media platforms, to exercise responsibility and to institute the requisite safeguards to protect children from exposure to adult content. Ladies and gentlemen, on a very different note, and as we are aware, schools are scheduled to close this week for the long holidays. And children will therefore be home for close to 8 weeks, which is almost 2 months. We therefore call on parents, caregivers, and guardians to be more vigilant and to monitor the audiovisual content that their children will be consuming on various platforms and to guide them appropriately. It is the responsibility of the parent, guardian, and caregiver to ensure that children under their care are not exposed to age-inappropriate content. Where children have access to internet and smart devices, including smartphones, parents and guardians need to take deliberate steps to monitor what their young ones are, especially minors, are consuming, in order to guide them accordingly. Parents are advised to make use of the wide parental controls and safety tools offered on various ICT platforms and devices. We also urge parents and guardians to take a keen interest in the gaming content and activities that the children are exposed to, especially on the net, and the gaming consoles or PlayStations in their homes, where minors request for purchase of games. You know, only the kids like to spend a lot of time on their game stations. The parents need to pay close attention to ensure that the purchased games are age appropriate for their children. Where online network multiplayer games are involved, you know, the kids now are also playing on, you know, participating in many online games. And some of these online games, especially what to focus on the game and to be careful not to interact with strangers through the in-game chat rooms. Most games now have a chat room. What is the content in that game? We are not warning them of some of the dangers that exercise their responsibility in this regard. Functionalities to avoid undue interactions with strangers. Ladies and gentlemen, as I wind down, for parents and guardians, and in this regard, parenting effectively in the digital age, including handling tech-savvy children and staying informed on the emerging risks. KFCB, in collaboration with relevant stakeholders, will soon roll out a parental digital literacy program, we acronymed as PADIL, and the program will target parents and caregivers in order to promote responsible digital parenting on content access through various digital platforms, as well as to enhance parents' awareness on emerging technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, to enhance measures on child protection from harmful content, KFCB, in partnership with the public service vehicle operators and SACCOs, among others, is spearheading the second phase of KFCB's Form Nisafi PSV Clean to ensure that children who use public service vehicles are not exposed to adult materials. The campaign, which is running for 8 weeks, consecutive weeks, through KFCB social media platforms, entails members of the public voting for PSV drivers and conductors exhibiting clean content in their vehicles. The winning PSV crew in the campaign have been awarded a token of Kenya shillings. It's not a lot, but it's an incentive, 10,000 shillings, and these awards are being issued weekly. And in addition, other awards from other partners, including PSV SACCOs, are also on offer or up for grabs. On the same note, the board, through its regional offices and in collaboration with relevant agencies of government, will lighten monitoring and inspection to ensure that minors are not admitted to video dance, which is usually a very common vice during the holidays. In the distributors to operate their businesses in line with the terms and the conditions outlined in their respective licenses, and as well as the Films and Stage Plays Act Cap 222. We call upon members of the public and other stakeholders to support our programs, particularly those geared towards protecting children from exposure to inappropriate audiovisual content. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, CEO. So, colleagues, as you can see, you've been given 4 storylines. There is the role of agents, the self-regulation, child protection, and then the PSVs. So within that context, if there's anybody with any question you need to ask, clarification, you give your name, the media house you are representing, and then where you've not maybe understood or are concerned. Yes, we'll start with you.
Yes, my name is Vincent Afan, I work for Radio Citizen. I just want to get a view from the CEO. Recently, the Nairobi City Governor, His Excellency Joseph Sakaja, gave in regards to the holiday, children are using matatus and all those things. How will that affect the young ones? Because there will be no way you can now rate, because you are traveling with your kid in a matatu, and the matatu is playing the video that does not really give some comfort with parents. How will that affect your observations?
Well, we got to get to know what the governor of Nairobi announced. It's not a position that we find very favorable, given that children are on holidays now, and most parents in Nairobi use public service vehicles, and if matatus or public service vehicles are allowed to exhibit age inappropriate content during hours when children are likely to be traveling, I think that is not going to fly very well with us and with parents. It's our responsibility to ensure that the next generation that is in the form of kids now is nurtured and in an environment where they are exposed to content that is appropriate for their respective ages. And we don't also want to put parents in a very awkward situation when, adult content is playing and you have a minor who is asking you, daddy or mommy, what is happening. It is important that, and that's why we have done this Form Nisafi campaign, so that we encourage the drivers and the conductors to just play clean content. And if you do that, and members of the public vote for you, we incentivize you with 10,000 shillings on a weekly basis. We will do it for 8 weeks. We wish we had the resources to sustain it for a year, but resources are not plenty these days. And I think it is we need to really amplify these messages so that even where situations where parents also need to take charge. If you get to a matatu where or a public service vehicle where the content being exhibited is not appropriate, we need to complain. Don't sit there as if you are very helpless. At the very worst, you can, you can get out of the light from the vehicle. Emotional development of your child should be key to you as a parent. And I think we will engage the governor to reconsider that position, so that we as government, we talk with the same voice, and we align, so that probably he didn't understand where we were going with it. But the issue why we are promoting that is just to make sure that children are protected while using public service. If you have a PlayStation at home, or your citizens enjoy from the Constitution, but basically what we are doing for the regional, for the video and monitoring what is being shown, operators of these video dens, that they need to comply with the requirements of the law, because they're not supposed. Child is 10 years of age, and you are buying a video game. Clearly, there will be a classification for it, either from US. That classification is for between 1 year to 5 years. It could be 10 and up to 13. But parents don't usually pay a lot of concern. The kid wants a game, they have had their colleagues in school are playing that game, it's interesting, and you just purchase. And the situation is even worse for online games. The kid tells you, I need to play this game. Purchase access. Allow me to have access by payment. Then the child now joins a game. There's a chat room where people engage the players. There are games that stimulate gambling. Kids begin to become gamblers, or to have gambling tendencies at a very young age. So I think you're not guiding the child. This is just a game. This is not what should happen to real life situation. Games are good because they improve the coordination of the child, actually. Allows the child to acquire multitasking skills. Even could create interactions with other players and so forth. But there is a negative side to them, and we need to be very keen in order to guide these children during the long holidays, so that they do not misuse their time. Secondly, there is also the issue of how long does the child spend on the game. In some families, kids, after the parents go to work, the kid is on the game from morning to evening. They actually switch off the machine when they hear that daddy or mommy have arrived home. Now, if you look at that child who is on games throughout, they are not actually gaining other skills. Even kids in the cities are losing the social skills. Because, at the home environment, we tend to encourage them to sit there, and the things they are watching actually do not teach them a balance at home. And there are controls, there are parental controls in those devices that you can use as a parent to ensure that you limit the amount of time the child spends online. And you need to engage the child and tell it that, can we agree to come up with a plan of how you are going to be using your holidays? Probably in the morning you do this, in the whatever, so that there is balance. Otherwise, you start seeing that kids are not doing homework. When you withdraw the device, the kids gets very angry and very anxious. Then when you take the kid out to interact with other kids, there are no social skills, because the kid just knows how to play games and watch cartoons, either on television or on other online platforms. So basically, that's what we are telling parents. We will not come to help you parent your children at home. That's your responsibility. And knowing that the environment has become highly digitalized, let us also acquire the requisite skills to be able to monitor what our children are watching. There are apps actually in the market now that even can help you monitor what your child is watching. There are apps that can even limit the amount of screen time using the devices that you have at home. Parents need to leverage on some of these safety tools that are inherent or embedded in some of these devices, so that we ensure that kids use technology meaningfully, either for learning, yes, for also recreational purposes, but ensure that there is a balance, that we do not leave them in the Wild West of the internet.
Okay, thank you. So, do we have anybody else? Yes, Yusuf.
My name is Yusuf KBC. In matters of this public games where maybe videos are shown and maybe children access the PlayStations and everything, maybe can you give us data of maybe how many flagged down, maybe how basically forfeit the prosecution?
Well, I think it is very hard to get you that data of head. And basically, we get those data. You know, people go, our officers go out in the regions, also in the city, doing monitoring and enforcement. And we have many reports where we have found some of them showing content that is not admissible to young children. And we usually visit some of those premises with the police. And of course, the law is very clear on some of these issues, and we hand over the same to police for purposes of prosecution, because it's illegal actually in the country to operate a distribution or exhibition facility or business without a license from us. And if we give you the license, it has terms and conditions attached to it, and some of these issues are clearly outlined in that in those terms and conditions of the license. So we will regularly actually. Our teams will go out and just to monitor whether our licensees are operating within the parameters of the law. Yes.
James Gonzalez from the Standard newspaper. On licensing, maybe has there been complaints from foreign filmmakers on dealing with film agencies? And if there has been, maybe what would it be the reason that they stated this move of getting back the licensing clause? And maybe could there be loss of revenue that has been happening on part of KFCB that also stated this move?
No. Actually, the reason why we are going this way is that, as I indicated, to obtain the license from KFCB. From our benchmark, we realized that in most countries, the role of the film agent is confined to just handling film crew, because those people are not here. These are foreigners who want to do filming in the country. They don't know even the institutions that give the licenses. They don't know who can facilitate transport for them. They don't know who can facilitate. For our locals, who have also been subjected to that requirement, it is not a good thing. It's not a good thing because if you are young, aspiring, creative, or filmmaker, you probably don't have money to hire somebody else to do these things that you can do for yourself. You live here, or the film sector has a lot of opportunities to really create employment and create wealth for our youth. We need to make it easier for them to participate in the sector. That is the overarching objective why we have gone this way. We also want to ensure that we professionalize film agency services in the country so that foreign crew, when they come here, they are handled properly. So we'll be requiring now to get a license as a filmmaker. We will require some requirements so that we professionalize that area, so that we don't have people who have no capacity handling businesses for foreigners, and therefore probably giving Kenya a bad name in terms of a filming location or destination. So that is the reason why we want to redefine this role of film agents and to open up the environment, the licensing environment for locals to easily get. In order to bring them within our regulatory regime. And I'm happy to say that the first one we have approached this morning, we've been talking. There will be content that is exhibited in the platform. If it says 10 or PG, it is our local PG. That will be done. Within a very short time, beginning next year. And basically, for the time being, what we are doing is that they are developing a system that will help them be able to self-classify the content that they distribute on their platforms. And basically, the idea is to ensure that what Kenyans access on that platform conforms to our local laws and regulatory framework. We shall be reaching out to the other online streaming services, and the online streaming services that we are talking about are actually commercial, so that if you are doing your own, if you want to stream content from Mombasa, when you go for the holidays, we will not tell you to bring it here for us to see before you share with your family. We are talking about commercial audiovisual content. So that is something that we are doing already, and we have seen a lot of enthusiasm from industry to want to join this framework. That's what we are referring to as the self-classification framework, where we train your team on the local classification system, how we rate our movies here, or our creative products here. You apply the same, and our work will just be to monitor and enforce compliance, so that we make it easy also for businesses to operate without a lot of hurdles that could make business difficult to be done within the Kenyan environment.
That's us about the PSV form in Safi. Are we seeing any impact?
I think actually there's impact. There's impact. We know that we are not seeing full compliance, and we may not have quantified that. But basically, you know, if you are a driver within Nairobi generally, and you and your conductor are playing clean content, and the passengers are actually voting through our online assets, basically you start to get an incentive of 10,000. We are seeing a lot of enthusiasm actually when we go for the awards. Even the matatus want to be seen to be complying, because also it's a mark of endorsement from government that they are doing the right thing. And possibly over time we may wish to have something, you know, exhibited in the matatus that comply on a continuous basis, to give parents assurance that when you get inside that matatu with your child, you are unlikely to get embarrassed by the kind of content that they are showing. These are discussions that we are having with PSV circles, and we are positive that it will create some positive change in terms of what public service vehicles exhibit during times that children are likely to be traveling.
Maybe any last one before we look out, yeah?
I'm looking from KNF. So what plans are there in store to sensitize the parents, children on whatever content are supposed to?
Yes, that's why we have said that KFCB is about to launch a parental digital literacy program, because you know now parents really are parenting within very increasingly difficult environment because of technology. So we have developed a program that is known as PADIL, the Parental Digital Literacy Program. We are starting it. We have already signed an agreement with Netflix to sensitize their users on the safety tools that are within their mechanism, within their platform, so that kids do not stray into areas where adult content is being distributed. And we are launching actually this program in February next year, during the Safer Internet Day. So that's how we want to support parents. We know CA does a lot of work on child online protection. So we are working with all these players to ensure that the parent is sufficiently sensitized, equipped with the requisite knowledge and skills to be able to ensure that they can parent in an increasingly digitalized environment.
Okay, I want to believe you're done, but if there's anybody else, we would not lock them out. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you for turning up, and to say we don't